All right, let's take a deep dive into something that I think can make a huge difference when we're talking about Kubernetes
Okay.
optimization.
Yeah.
We're talking about cost savings, tighter security, and a performance boost.
Right.
And all of this is thanks to Cast AI and their documentation.
Yes.
So we've got technical docs, we've got FAQs, and even some code snippets to unpack here.
Yeah. What's fascinating here is that Cast AI doesn't just focus on one area, like performance.
Right.
Their approach is much more holistic,
Yeah.
looking at cost and security and performance as all these interconnected pieces.
Yeah, I noticed that too when I was looking at their documentation.
Yeah.
So first things first, how does Cast AI actually help save money?
Okay.
They keep mentioning rebalancing,
Mhm.
but what does that really mean in practice?
Yeah, it's more than just rearranging things.
Yeah,
They actually analyze your cluster,
yeah,
looking at your workloads and the types of instances you're using.
right.
And then it recommends moving things around to maximize resource utilization. So, for example, it might suggest shifting a less critical workload
Both.
to a cheaper spot instance
Uh-huh.
while keeping your mission-critical apps on more stable on-demand instances.
So it's making smart decisions about where each piece of the puzzle fits best,
Exactly.
based on both cost and performance needs.
Exactly.
That's way more sophisticated than just randomly shuffling things around.
Yeah, and they even let you simulate what they call a spot drought,
Sure.
where you can actually see how your applications would perform if spot instances suddenly became unavailable.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's crucial, especially for applications that just can't tolerate any downtime.
Right.
Okay, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about security.
Okay.
I saw that Cast AI offers some pretty powerful security features,
Mm-hmm.
and one that caught my eye was their vulnerability scanning
Right.
and attack path analysis.
Yes.
What can you tell me about that?
Yeah, imagine this. You have a visual map
Okay.
showing you exactly how an attacker could potentially infiltrate your cluster.
Oh,
Cast AI can actually generate that for you,
okay.
highlighting vulnerabilities and weak points that you might not even be aware of.
So it's not just about finding known vulnerabilities, but also about understanding those potential attack paths.
Exactly.
That's a whole different level of security insight.
Right, and they go even further
Oh,
by
and-
allowing you to define your own custom anomaly detection rules
Oh, wow.
using something called CEL,
Okay.
or Common Expression Language.
Common expression language. Okay.
Yes, it's a really powerful way to create your own security playbook tailored to the specific needs of your applications and your environment.
That's really interesting.
Yeah,
But I have to admit, CEL is not something that I'm familiar with.
sure.
Can you break it down a bit more for me and our listeners?
Yeah, think of it as a way to write rules
Okay.
that define what normal behavior looks like in your cluster.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, you could create a rule that triggers an alert
Okay.
if a container suddenly starts making a large number of outbound connections
Mm-hmm.
to an unknown IP address.
Right.
This helps you catch suspicious activity before it turns into a major security incident.
So it's like setting up tripwires throughout your cluster,
Exactly.
alerting you to any unusual or potentially malicious activity.
Right.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm starting to see how seriously they take security here.
Right.
But let's be real, performance is always top of mind for Kubernetes users.
Sure.
What does Cast AI bring to the table when it comes to squeezing more performance out of our clusters?
One of the key areas they focus on is workload auto-scaling.
Okay,
But it's not just about scaling up and down based on traffic.
right.
Cast AI takes a much more nuanced approach.
Okay.
They're analyzing historical usage patterns,
Mhm.
including things like startup metrics, which can be tricky for applications that gobble up resources during startup.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So they're not just reacting to current demand, but actually anticipating future needs based on past behavior.
Exactly.
How does that work in practice?
They use a combination of AI and machine learning
Okay.
to analyze your workloads and determine the optimal CPU and memory allocation for each one.
So they're really fine-tuning each application, each workload.
Exactly.
That's
And this ensures that your applications have the resources they need to perform at their best without over-provisioning and wasting resources.
It sounds like they're taking a page from the world of predictive analytics,
Right.
but applying it to the resource management challenges of Kubernetes.
Exactly.
I like that.
And they give you fine-grained control over this auto-scaling behavior
Okay.
through annotations and policies.
Nice.
It's like having a personal trainer for your applications, making sure they're always in peak condition.
Now that's an analogy I can get behind.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're tackling cost savings, they're tackling security, they're tackling performance. It's clear that Cast AI is taking this holistic approach to Kubernetes optimization. But what are some of the specific tools and techniques they use to make this magic happen?
One tool that stands out is called a pod pinner.
A pod pinner.
Yes.
Okay, I was just thinking, that sounds like something out of a bakery.
I know, right?
What on earth is a pod pinner?
Well, in the Kubernetes world, it's a clever mechanism that Cast AI uses
Okay.
to override the default Kubernetes scheduler,
Uh,
giving you more control over where your pods are placed.
Got it. So instead of Kubernetes deciding where each pod lives,
Right.
Cast AI can step in and make more strategic placements based on
Well,
what?
it considers factors like resource requirements,
Mhm.
affinity and anti-affinity rules,
Okay.
and even your network topology.
So it's really about making sure the right pod
Exactly.
is on the right node for the right reason.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, speaking of nodes, can we
Right.
talk about how Cast AI helps us manage those?
Sure.
I saw something about node templates in their documentation.
Yeah. Node templates are essentially blueprints
Yeah.
that define the different types of nodes that you want in your cluster.
Okay.
So you can specify things like the instance types,
Uh-huh.
operating systems,
Right.
and even things like taints and tolerations.
Hold on. For those who might not be familiar with taints and tolerations, can you break that down a bit?
Yeah, think of taints as a way to mark a node
Okay.
and say, hey, not all pods are welcome here.
Okay.
And tolerations are like a pod saying,
Yeah.
hey, I'm okay with this taint. I can run on this node.
Right.
So this mechanism helps you ensure that critical applications land on the right nodes,
Got it.
even when you have a diverse set of nodes in your cluster.
So it's a way to add a layer of control over pod placement,
Exactly.
especially when you have specific requirements for certain applications.
Right.
That's a handy tool to have in your Kubernetes arsenal.
Absolutely. And Cast AI helps you manage these node templates,
Okay.
recommending adjustments based on your workloads
Mm-hmm.
and cost goals.
Nice.
They can even help you choose the right subnets for your nodes. Okay.
Which can impact things like network latency and cost.
So there's a lot to consider there.
Yeah.
It sounds like Cast AI is taking this very proactive and intelligent approach to node management.
Yes.
But how about actually getting those nodes up and running?
Okay.
Do I have to manually provision everything?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Cast AI actually takes care of node provisioning for you,
Okay.
automatically spinning up new nodes based on your node templates
Hmm.
and your scaling policies.
That's great.
It's like having an auto-scaling group,
Right.
but way more intelligent
Okay.
because they're taking into account things like spot instance availability and your cost preferences.
Okay, so they're handling all the heavy lifting of node management.
Exactly.
That's a huge time saver.
Right.
But what about those spot instances you mentioned earlier?
Sure.
Those can be a little tricky to manage.
Yes.
Especially if you have applications that need high availability.
You're right. But Cast AI excels at managing spot instances.
They can help you choose the right spot instance types. Set up fallback mechanisms in case your spot instances get interrupted.
Right.
And even predict spot instance interruptions so you can proactively move your workloads
Wow.
to avoid any downtime.
Now that's what I call intelligent spot instance management.
Right.
It's like they've taken one of the most challenging aspects of cloud cost optimization
Yeah.
and made it almost effortless.
Exactly. They're removing the guesswork
Right.
and complexity, allowing you to reap the cost savings of spot instances without sacrificing reliability.
So they're helping us choose the right types of nodes.
Mm.
They're helping us manage our pod placement.
Yes.
And they're even helping us navigate this world of spot instances.
Right.
It's clear that Cast AI is trying to simplify a lot of these complex decisions that come with managing Kubernetes.
Yeah.
But what happens when things go wrong?
Okay.
We all know Kubernetes troubleshooting can be a real headache.
Right.
How does Cast AI support us in those situations?
Yeah. Well, first off, their documentation and support are excellent.
Okay, that's good.
They have a comprehensive knowledge base, FAQs, even a blog with tons of helpful articles.
Nice. So it's like having a Kubernetes guru on speed dial.
Exactly.
That's reassuring. But what about tools for actually monitoring our clusters
Oh, right.
and digging into logs when things go wrong?
Cast AI integrates with popular monitoring tools like Prometheus and Grafana.
Okay, so we can use our favorite monitoring tools
Yes.
to keep an eye on things.
Exactly.
What if we need more than just basic monitoring?
Okay.
What if we need to dig deeper into logs and really understand what's going on under the hood?
They also have their own monitoring dashboard
Oh, okay.
that gives you a bird's eye view of your cluster's health performance and cost.
Nice.
allowing you to quickly identify and troubleshoot issues.
It sounds like they've thought of everything when it comes to supporting us through those inevitable Kubernetes hiccups.
Yeah.
But we focused a lot on cost optimization.
Right.
What about performance? Does Cast AI help us actually squeeze more performance out of our clusters?
Absolutely. They offer features like workload right-sizing, which helps you determine the optimal resource requests and limits for your pods.
Okay. But Kubernetes already has resource requests and limits, so what makes Cast AI's approach different?
It's about finding that sweet spot
Yeah.
between giving your pods enough resources to perform well
Uh-huh.
without over-provisioning and wasting resources.
Right.
So they use sophisticated algorithms to analyze your workloads and recommend the most efficient resource allocations.
So it's like they're fine-tuning our Kubernetes engine for peak performance.
That's a great analogy.
All right, so let's take a breath.
Sure.
Recap what we've learned so far.
Okay.
We've seen how Cast AI helps us with node templates, pod placement,
Yes.
spot instance management,
Right.
even troubleshooting.
Exactly.
It's clear they offer a comprehensive set of tools and features to help us manage our Kubernetes deployments.
And remember, we've only scratched the surface here.
There's so much more to explore in their documentation.
Exactly. So for all of you Kubernetes enthusiasts out there, I highly encourage you to dive into that documentation and see for yourselves how Cast AI can transform your Kubernetes experience. But for now, we're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive, where we'll delve into even more specific configurations and best practices for getting the most out of Cast AI.
Welcome back to part 2 of our Kubernetes optimization journey with Cast AI.
Yeah.
We've seen the big picture. Now I want to get into some of those nuts and bolts.
Sure.
What are some of the things we need to consider
Right.
when setting up Cast AI for the first time?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
One of the first things Cast AI needs is access.
Right.
You're essentially providing them with the keys to your Kubernetes kingdom,
Okay.
both in terms of your cluster permissions and your crowd permissions.
Okay.
This allows Cast AI to analyze your setup,
Okay.
make changes to your cluster,
Right.
and even provision resources on your behalf.
So we are giving them a certain level of control over our environment,
Right.
which makes sense, but it also raises some security concerns.
Sure.
How do we ensure that Cast AI only has access to what it needs
Right.
and that our data is protected?
Security is paramount,
Yeah.
and Cast AI addresses those concerns head on.
Okay.
They're very transparent about their data collection practices and security measures.
Okay.
So their agent collects data on your nodes, pods,
right.
namespaces, and more.
Okay.
However, they clearly state that they don't have access to sensitive user data,
Okay.
such as secrets or config maps.
Okay. That addresses some of my initial concerns.
Good.
But where does all this collected data actually go?
Okay.
Is it stored securely?
All the data is sent to Cast AI's hosted components,
Okay.
which are secured and encrypted
Okay.
to protect your information.
Good.
They also provide detailed information about their communication requirements,
Okay.
outlining what ports and protocols are used for communication between your cluster and their services.
Yes. That level of transparency is essential,
Yeah.
especially when we're talking about granting this level of access to our Kubernetes environment.
Right.
So we've talked about granting permissions,
Mm.
we've talked about data security,
Right.
but what about actually configuring Cast AI
Right.
to work with our specific cluster?
Okay.
We touched upon node templates earlier.
Right.
I'd love to dig a little deeper into those.
Sure. Node templates are the building blocks of your Cast AI configuration.
Okay.
They're basically blueprints
Okay.
for the different types of nodes that you want in your cluster.
Okay.
You can specify things like instance types,
Mhm.
operating systems,
Right.
and even more granular details like taints and tolerations, which we discussed earlier.
Right. Those labels that kind of control where certain pods can run.
Exactly.
So with node templates, we're basically defining the different flavors of nodes
Right.
that Cast AI can use to
Yeah.
build our cluster.
Exactly.
But how do we actually get those nodes up and running?
That's where Cast AI's node provisioning capabilities come in.
Mm-hmm.
They can automatically provision new nodes based on your node templates
Cool.
and your scaling policies.
Nice.
Think of it as a more intelligent version of an auto-scaling group.
So it's not just about defining the blueprints,
Right.
but actually putting those blueprints into action.
Exactly.
Automatically provisioning the nodes that we need.
Exactly.
But it's not just about the nodes themselves, right?
Right.
We also need to think about what's running on those nodes,
Mm-hmm.
our pods.
Mm-hmm.
How does Cast AI handle pod placement?
This is where their deep understanding of Kubernetes shines through.
Okay.
They don't just randomly place pods on nodes.
Right.
They take into account a wide range of factors
Okay.
to determine the optimal placement for each pod.
What kind of factors are we talking about here?
Well, they look at things like resource requirements,
Mm-hmm.
affinity and anti-affinity rules,
Okay.
which dictate whether pods should be co-located or spread apart,
Mm-hmm.
and even your network topology, ensuring that pods that need to communicate with each other are placed close together.
It sounds like they're doing a lot of behind-the-scenes optimization
Yes.
to ensure that our pods are living their best lives
Right.
on the most suitable nodes.
Exactly.
Now, we've talked a lot about different instance types, but one thing that always comes up in cloud cost optimization is spot instances.
Sure.
How does Cast AI factor those into the equation?
Spot instances are a great way to save money,
Yeah.
but they can be a bit unpredictable.
Right.
Cast AI excels at managing spot instances,
Okay.
helping you choose the right spot instance types for your workloads,
Mm.
and setting up fallback mechanisms in case your spot instances get interrupted.
So they're not just throwing our pods onto whatever spot instances are cheapest.
Exactly.
We're actually thinking about reliability
Right.
and making sure we have a backup plan
Yeah.
if those spot instances disappear.
Exactly. They even have features that can predict spot instance interruptions, allowing you to proactively move your workloads to more stable instances
Okay.
before an interruption occurs.
That's amazing.
Yeah, this helps you avoid any downtime or performance issues.
That's some next level spot instance management.
It is.
It sounds like they're really taking the risk out of using spot instances.
They are. They're making it possible to reap the cost savings of spot instances
Right.
without the headaches that often come with them.
Now, we know that not all workloads are created equal.
Right.
Some workloads might have specific requirements,
Sure.
like needing access to GPUs for machine learning or high-performance computing.
Yeah,
Can Cast AI handle those types of workloads?
absolutely.
Okay.
Cast AI provides guidance and support for a wide range of workload types,
Okay.
including those that require specialized hardware like GPUs.
Mm-hmm.
They can help you choose the right GPU instance types,
Okay.
configure your cluster to make the most of those GPUs,
Nice.
and even provide recommendations for optimizing your GPU workloads.
So they're not just focused on these vanilla Kubernetes use cases.
Yay.
They're also catering to those more specialized workloads that need a little extra attention.
Exactly. They're really trying to cover the full spectrum of Kubernetes use cases,
Yeah.
from simple web applications to complex data-intensive workloads.
Okay. I feel like we've gotten a good grasp of how Cast AI helps us manage our nodes, our pods, and even those tricky spot instances.
Right.
But what about when things go wrong?
Oh, okay.
We all know Kubernetes troubleshooting can be a bit of a wild ride.
Right.
How does Cast AI help us navigate those choppy waters?
Well, their support and documentation are excellent, as we've discussed.
Yeah.
But beyond that, they also integrate with popular monitoring tools like Prometheus and Grafana,
Okay.
giving you deep visibility into your cluster's health and performance.
So we can use our favorite monitoring tools to keep an eye on things.
Exactly.
But what if we need more than just basic monitoring?
Sure.
What if we need to dig deeper into logs and really understand what's going on under the hood?
Cast AI has you covered there as well.
Okay.
They provide their own monitoring dashboard
All right.
that gives you a bird's eye view of your cluster
Okay.
with detailed metrics and insights into your resource usage, performance bottlenecks,
Right.
and potential issues.
So it's like having a built-in Kubernetes detective
Yeah.
helping us track down those elusive bugs and performance gremlins.
They're giving you the tools you need to be proactive about troubleshooting.
Right.
Identify problems before they become major issues
Hmm.
and resolve them quickly and efficiently.
Now I'm curious about something.
Right.
We've talked a lot about cost optimization,
Right?
but what about actually squeezing more performance out of our clusters?
Sure.
Can Cast AI help us with that?
Performance is always a top priority.
Yeah.
One of the key features Cast AI offers in this area is workload right-sizing.
Okay.
This involves analyzing your workloads
Mm-hmm.
and determining the optimal resource requests and limits for each pod.
Okay, but Kubernetes already has resource requests and limits.
Right.
So what makes Cast AI's approach different?
It's about finding the sweet spot
Okay.
between giving your pods enough resources to perform well
Right.
without over-provisioning and wasting resources.
Right, that's that Goldilocks zone that we're always looking for.
Exactly.
Okay.
So they use sophisticated algorithms to analyze your workloads
Okay.
and recommend the most efficient resource allocations.
So it's like having a performance tuner
Right.
for our Kubernetes cluster, making sure everything is running at peak efficiency.
Exactly. They're helping you get the most out of your infrastructure investment
Hmm.
by ensuring that your applications have the resources they need when they need them,
Right.
without any waste.
This has been incredibly insightful.
Good.
It feels like we've gone from that high-level overview to a much deeper understanding of how CAS AI works its magic.
Right.
But I know we've only scratched the surface here.
We have.
So what's next on our Kubernetes optimization adventure?
Well, in part 3, we'll explore some of the even more advanced features and capabilities that CAST AI offers,
Okay.
diving into things like their AI-powered workload autoscaler
Oh, fun.
and their Kuvisor security agent.
Okay.
Trust me, it's going to be an exciting ride.
Sounds like we're just getting started. We'll see you all back here soon for the grand finale of our deep dive into CAST AI. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into Kubernetes optimization with CAST AI.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground, but there are still some intriguing areas I want to explore,
Okay.
especially when it comes to those AI-powered features.
Right.
One that really caught my attention is the workload autoscaler.
Mm-hmm.
How does this differ from the regular Kubernetes horizontal pod autoscaler
Right.
that most of us are familiar with?
It's a great question. The traditional HPA or horizontal pod autoscaler is reactive.
Okay.
So it sees a spike in traffic or resource usage,
Mm-hmm.
and it reacts by scaling up your pods.
Okay.
It's like a firefighter rushing to put out a fire.
So it's good for handling those immediate changes,
Right.
but it doesn't necessarily plan for the future
Right.
or optimize for efficiency.
Yeah.
So where does CAS AI's workload autoscaler come in?
The workload autoscaler takes a much more proactive and intelligent approach.
Okay.
It uses AI and machine learning
Okay.
to analyze historical usage patterns
Hmm.
and predict future demand,
Oh, wow.
allowing it to adjust your resource allocations before you even experience a spike in traffic.
So it's less like a firefighter and more like a meteorologist anticipating the storm before it hits?
Exactly.
But doesn't that require a ton of data and processing power?
Sure.
I'm imagining these complex algorithms crunching numbers all day long.
It does require a lot of computational power, but that's one of the beauties of CAST AI.
Okay.
They handle all of that heavy lifting in their cloud-based platform.
Okay, so they're essentially offloading all that complexity of
Exactly.
AI-powered autoscaling.
Right.
That's a huge win for busy Kubernetes users
Yes.
who already have enough on their plates.
Yeah.
But how do we actually control and configure this workload autoscaler?
Oh,
Do we just let it do its thing, or do we have some levers to pull?
You definitely have control.
Okay.
CAST AI provides a lot of flexibility in how you configure the workload autoscaler.
Yeah.
You can define scaling policies
Okay.
that dictate how aggressively it should scale up or down,
Mm-hmm.
set target CPU utilization levels, memory limits, and more.
So it's like we're giving the workload autoscaler a set of guidelines to follow.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then it uses its AI and machine learning to operate within those guidelines.
Can we get even more granular with our configuration?
Sure.
Like, can we fine-tune the autoscaling behavior for individual applications or workloads?
Absolutely. You can define custom annotations and labels for your workloads,
Okay.
which allows you to fine-tune the auto-scaling behavior even further.
So it's like giving the workload autoscaler a personalized set of instructions for
Right.
each application.
Right.
Wow, that level of control is really impressive.
Yeah, it's very powerful.
It's like having a team of Kubernetes experts constantly monitoring and adjusting your deployments,
Right.
but without the overhead of actually having a team of experts.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about optimizing performance and cost.
Mm-hmm.
But what about security?
Right.
I know CAST AI offers a feature called the Kuvisor Security Agent.
Yes.
Can you tell me about that?
The Kuvisor security agent is like having a dedicated security guard for your cluster,
Okay.
constantly monitoring for vulnerabilities,
Mm-hmm.
suspicious activity,
Right.
and potential threats.
So it's not just about scanning for known vulnerabilities.
Right.
It's also about detecting those anomalies and unusual behavior that might indicate a security breach.
Exactly. It uses a combination of traditional security scanning techniques
Okay.
and more advanced behavioral analysis and machine learning
Okay.
to identify patterns that might suggest malicious activity.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, it can detect if a container is trying to access sensitive files or connect to external servers that it shouldn't be talking to.
That sounds like a really powerful combination of proactive and reactive security measures.
Yeah, it's very comprehensive.
But what happens when the Kuvisor security agent detects something suspicious?
Okay.
Does it just log it somewhere, or does it actually take action?
It does more than just log it.
Okay.
It generates alerts and reports that you can view in the Cast AI console,
Okay.
allowing you to investigate the issue and take appropriate action.
So we're not just left to fend for ourselves.
Right.
We have visibility into potential security issues and the tools we need to respond effectively.
Exactly.
That's reassuring.
Right.
Okay, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about managing database costs.
Okay.
I know cloud databases can be a significant expense,
Right.
and I saw that Cast AI claims to have a solution for that.
Yeah.
Tell me about the Database Optimizer. What's their secret sauce?
The Database Optimizer is all about intelligent caching.
Okay.
It sits between your application and your database,
Okay.
intercepting queries and caching the results.
Mm-hmm.
So if the same query is made again, the result is served from the cache,
Okay.
which is much faster and cheaper than going back to the database.
That makes sense. Caching is a tried and true technique for improving performance and reducing load.
Right.
But how does the Database Optimizer decide which queries to cache and for how long?
That's where the AI comes in.
Okay.
The Database Optimizer uses machine learning to analyze query patterns and predict which queries are likely to be repeated.
Okay.
It also dynamically adjusts cache expiration times based on usage patterns.
Right.
So you're always getting the most up-to-date data.
So it's not just a static cache.
Exactly.
It's constantly learning and adapting to our application's usage patterns.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
But how do we actually connect our applications to this Database Optimizer?
Okay.
Does it require a major overhaul of our code?
Not at all.
Okay.
It's surprisingly simple to integrate.
Okay.
You just need to update your application's connection string to point to the Database Optimizer instead of directly to the database. Cast AI provides all the instructions and tools you need to make this transition seamlessly.
That sounds almost too good to be true.
Mm.
Are there any downsides or limitations we should be aware of when using the Database Optimizer?
Well, with any caching system, there's always a slight risk of serving stale data,
Okay.
especially if the database is updated after a query is cached.
Right.
However, Cast AI has built-in mechanisms to mitigate this risk,
Okay.
such as cache invalidation and revalidation.
Okay, good.
They also provide detailed metrics and monitoring
Uh-huh.
so you can track the performance and effectiveness of the Database Optimizer.
So it sounds like they've considered the potential pitfalls of caching
Right.
and implemented safeguards to ensure data accuracy.
Exactly.
That's good to know. Okay, so we've covered the workload autoscaler.
Mm-hmm.
We've covered the Visor security agent,
Yeah.
the Database Optimizer.
Right.
Are there any other hidden gems in the Cast AI toolbox that we should know about?
One more I'd like to highlight is their discount engine.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this discount engine. How does it work?
It allows you to input your own custom discounts,
Okay.
such as volume discounts or reserved instance pricing.
Mm-hmm.
Cast AI then factors these discounts into its optimization decisions,
Oh, that's cool.
ensuring that you're getting the most out of your cloud spending.
So it's not just optimizing based on those generic cloud pricing.
Right.
It's taking into account our specific pricing agreements to make even more informed optimization decisions.
Exactly. It's like having a dedicated cost analyst working behind the scenes, constantly looking for ways to save you money.
This has been an eye-opening journey into the world of Cast AI and Kubernetes optimization.
Yeah, it's a very impressive platform.
We've seen how they're using AI and automation to tackle some of the biggest challenges in Kubernetes management,
Right.
from cost savings and security to performance optimization.
Exactly.
And they've done it in a way that's both powerful and user-friendly.
Yeah, their documentation is excellent, their support is responsive, and their platform is constantly evolving with new features and capabilities.
It's clear that Cast AI is pushing the boundaries of what's possible in the Kubernetes space.
Yeah, they really are.
What final thoughts would you leave our listeners with?
I would encourage everyone to embrace the power of AI and automation in their Kubernetes journeys.
Yeah.
Cast AI is a prime example of what can be achieved when we combine these technologies with deep Kubernetes expertise.
I couldn't agree more so. If you're ready to take your Kubernetes deployments to the next level, head over to the Cast AI website and explore all the amazing things they have to offer. And be sure to check out their documentation, which is a goldmine of valuable information and insights.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure talking about this.
And that's a wrap for our deep dive into Kubernetes optimization with Cast AI. We hope you've enjoyed the journey and learned some valuable tips and tricks along the way. We'll see you next time for another deep dive into the world of cloud-native technologies.